Panther people, what up? Bryce Young and the starters have not played a single preseason game together. Should we care? Yes. What's going on in Watch Panthers? Supposed to Phil Perkins. Thanks for joining us. Well, we're heading into the final week of preseason, and for some reason, there's a dialogue right now that it is not a big deal that Bryce Young and most of the starters have not played a single snap together in the preseason, and it's not a big deal. I know on the injury front, it makes a lot of sense. JJ McCarthy, who I guess in my head, I'm not a Vikings guy, but he's slated to be, I think, the starter with the Minnesota Vikings, but instead they're re-rolling with Sam Darnold and I think Matt Corral as his backup. And they also just signed Stephon Gilmore. So are they now the Panthers of the North? They're further north than Buffalo. So maybe they are Panthers North. Oh yeah, Stephon Gilmore signing with the Minnesota Vikings, 1 year, $10 million, $7 million guaranteed. The Carolina Panthers could not offer him that either. So they lost J.J. McCarthy for the year. So there is the argument out there, and Dave Canales talked about that the health of the team is the reason why they're not playing a majority of the starters in these preseason games. And it makes sense for your prize quarterback in Bryce Young to not go behind a line that had not a single starter that I have ever seen in my entire life. Not even Brady Christensen, who is like the backup to everybody. He wasn't playing. So to put your basically future of your job, Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, and the future of your whatever reputation you have left in Dave Tepper, to put Bryce Young behind an offensive line that is not his offensive line, then it would be ridiculous. They also didn't see Xavier Leggett. We did see Jonathan Mingo. Did you see Terrence Marshall? Are those two guys fighting for positions right now on this roster? I don't know. They're going to make it tough for this team. But there is part of me that says, okay, it makes sense. You don't have your starting offensive line. You don't want Bryce behind that and eventually and potentially get hurt. And so you have no Bryce Young for the rest of the year. He gets a JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy, a bigger guy than Bryce Young. So worst case scenario, you lose Bryce Young for the year. Now you can't evaluate him. You got to put in Andy Dalton. What if he plays well? Now you have all the questions about Bryce Young. It is not a good quarterback class in 2025, in my opinion, and not just mine, some draft analysts as well. So it does curtail the entire season. And we think we're upset now that Bryce Young isn't playing in the preseason. How are we going to feel no Bryce Young at all for the rest of the regular season? And what excitement is there really? Like the only reason why you're excited about Deontay Johnson, Xavier Leggett, and potentially Jonathan Mingo and company is that a Bryce Young comeback, a Bryce Young glow up is a potential for this year after the charade that happened last year, where we're now reported from David Newton that the offense changed 3 times during the offseason with Frank Reich and his all-star coaching staff. Wow, what a horrible decision. Either way, I could see how on that side it makes sense that you don't want Bryce to get hurt and then just destroys whatever optimism there is for this team. At the same time, I find it difficult to convince myself that Bryce Young and this offense is so finely tuned up and they are so good to go and so confident in themselves that if they don't play against Buffalo, Dave Canales was non-committal of playing against Buffalo. And by the way, Buffalo and their starters, I don't know how they're organizing it. I don't know if Josh Allen will play maybe 2 snaps, 5 snaps, or some teams like their guys to play the entire half to get into football shape for week 1, because week 1 is when it counts, right? The Panthers play a division foe away from home in New Orleans. If you want to, get a head start on the division, you got to beat a divisional opponent early. And pretty sure they're playing their starters. Either way, I just find it kind of hard to believe that Bryce and this offense is in lockstep, that they can just walk into New Orleans, potentially not play any preseason games at all. Sure, you're healthy, but for how long? Because you won't be in football shape. You've only really had one competitive practice. You could argue, or the way I've argued, that the joint practice against the New York Jets was a pseudo game, and Bryce Young, from all accounts, it wasn't televised, was pinpoint, was absolutely balling out of control. But to then continue that for an entire length of a football game, for an entire half, for gosh sakes. And if he doesn't play against Buffalo, you're telling me that he and his offensive line are in football shape. They are completely in lockstep. That they and his wide receivers, mind you, because say what you want about the Detroit practice, it was still a practice, right? Like there's guys out there making business decisions when it comes to hits, except the guy who hit Chuba Hubbard. But you're telling me that they are so, psycho connected right now that they can go into New Orleans, a divisional foe, and play well and not get blown out, and they can make it competitive and potentially win to start 1-0 in the Dave Canales era? Okay, I know Bryce is good. I know he's cerebral. He looks like he's gained some good weight, and the offensive line is 100% better. That's no doubt. Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, no doubt they got better. I have faith Chuba Hubbard will be better this year. Miles Sanders, he can't get any lower. Xavier Leggett also has not played a lick of preseason, even though he was dressed in the Bank of America Stadium against the Jets. Uh, he's a gamer, and I think he'll just find himself open, and Bryce will find him because he's so cerebral. Jonathan Mingo, he's been getting the reps. That's a good thing. Terrace Marshall, if he makes the team, he's getting reps, and he's showing some yak potential right there, as well as Jonathan Mingo. I love Dylan Johnson out of University of Washington. I really loved his game in the college football series. I like him a lot. I like, obviously, Adam Thielen. He's going to do his thing. The defense is coming out. I think they're, like I said before in previous episodes, check this out. They're going to be the better part of the team again because of the scheme fit with these players. It is asking a lot of me and the fans if Bryce and company do not play against Buffalo for a series, 2 series, heck, a half, that you're telling me a rookie coach and a brand new offense is so easily digestible for Bryce Young company that he's just going to go into New Orleans and just win? And if he does, great. Hell yes. Because that's when it matters. That's 100% when it matters. And if he comes into this healthy, and we've seen, knock on wood, that Bryce Young is pretty durable compared to the other guys, like Anthony Richardson played 5 games. He is twice the size of Bryce Young. If they go into New Orleans and get absolutely trounced, and they are caught with offside penalties, delay of game penalties, Bryce Young is overshooting guys, undershooting guys, getting sacked, not trusting his protection, getting sacked right up the middle because he's waiting too darn long because he has no chemistry with his wide receivers. That waxing poetic from the very good-looking Dave Canales is going to sound pretty Matt Ruley to me if they come out like that. So as I say, if he doesn't play against Buffalo and they are going offside, Bryce Young is taking too long to call plays, delay a game. If he is getting a coverage sack because he is waiting for his wide receivers to get open, or he is just not in lockstep with his wide receivers because they have zero time during a game in the preseason to get that chemistry, get that timing right, and they look like they're in week 1 of preseason while everybody else is week 1 of the regular season, I don't want to hear Dave Canales talk about, anything. I just do not understand the reasoning besides the injury part of not having your starters who are healthy out there, because there is going to come a time. It's football. It's the NFL. When is it ever going to be perfect? Week 1 will be perfect if everybody's healthy. And even still, not the case. We've already lost 2 defensive guys in Dane Jackson and Xavier Woods for the next couple of weeks. You're never perfect. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope everyone is feeling fine to take on New Orleans. But being a Panthers fan the last 5 years, how are you supposed to feel any other way? How are you supposed to trust anything? Anyways, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, spread the word. See you guys after the Bills game. Will we talk about Bryce? I don't know. Are they going to wear black jerseys for once? I don't know. We'll see.